Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you've been with us before, welcome to the channel if this is your first time. We are Leanne Presents. I am Alan. This is Leanne. This is Ragnarok, Destroyer of Worlds. Yes, that is his actual name, or Rags for short. And this is part 5, our finale, our culmination, our pentet, I guess? Because there's 5 sides, a pentagram, right? No, pentagram's 6 sides, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
this is our 5th part. It's our 5th part of our Halloween horror movie clash. So if you haven't seen the previous 4 parts, where we talk about all 16 movies, we'll put a link up about here for you to go back and watch that. Alternatively, if you don't want to see us waffle on about all the films and tell you what we think was great and what wasn't so great about them, you can just stick around for this one. I'll flash up the brackets now so you can see what films are going off against what films in our grand tournament. So if you haven't been with us, for the sake of those who haven't been with us from the start of this 5-part series, we've taken 16 horror films from 2023 UK release dates. We've not watched them on purpose to be able to binge them out in the beginning, sort of first half of October-ish, give or take, up until today, the last day we're filming, recording. And we have scored them and sort of given them appropriate scores in 6 different categories, which are spook/gore factor, story, sound, acting, villains, and visuals. So those are the categories that we use to rate these films, and that's what we're sort of basing the scores on. It comes to a culmination of 30 points for each film, because there's 5 points in each category. So as such, this is the last one. This is where we've sort of talked about them all, and now we get into the nitty-gritty to find out what, in our opinion, is the best horror film of 2023. Leanne, do you want to start taking us through some of the matches?
I would, but there's a cat on my notes. So you might have
told you he was a little horror.
Go on, off you go. Go on. Alright, so
let's go, Leanne.
The first matchup we've got is The Pope's Exorcist against Scream 6.
Okay, so we've got supernatural horror versus slasher.
Yeah.
The demons versus Ghostface. Okay.
So, do we want to just say who we put forwards, and then we can discuss if we got
I guess
opinions.
Pick which one you thought was better, and explain why you felt it was better.
Oh gosh, are you sure you don't want to go first?
Yes.
I picked The Pope's Exorcist to win.
Okay.
Scream's always good, but we have seen this sort of thing before. It has got a new spin on it, which is great, but The Pope's Exorcist was more, because it's its own thing, so it's sort of more original.
It kind of stood on its own merits as opposed to having to
Yeah.
harken back to something else.
Exactly, and there was great acting and visuals and all that stuff.
Yep.
Really enjoyed it.
Yep.
That's my pick.
In terms of points, I also got The Pope's Exorcist to win, only marginally by 2 points. I really do. I like supernatural stuff. I like ghost stuff. I don't want to say I like demons, because that would be probably construed a different way on the internet, because this is the internet age, right? But yeah, I feel that if I had to pick one of these to watch right now, it would be The Pope's Exorcist, because it just felt a lot more tense. It had a lot more to it, I felt.
Yeah.
Not only the sort of the horror elements, but also part of the comedic elements in the horror, especially with Father Amort cracking jokes every now and again and trying to. Whereas Scream is literally a stabathon. We've seen it numerous times before, and whilst it does keep you guessing, you could probably go back and watch it a second time and be like, oh, I didn't notice that first time. But I think I even mentioned it when we were talking about this in video 1, that I did surmise that the daughter might not have been killed while she was in the apartment.
Yeah.
So this one was a bit more forefront. It was upfront in the face, whereas in The Pope's Exorcist, Leanne, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
We certainly didn't.
So I would actually agree with you on that one, and Pope's Exorcist does win this particular clash.
Nice.
So I'm just going to make a note. Obviously, we haven't talked about this until now, so...
Okay. Which way are we going?
Let's go down. Yeah, let's go down.
Okay, so the next matchup is Renfield against Totally Killer.
The Battle of the Horror Comedies.
Battle of the Horror Comedies.
Dracula versus Max Headroom wannabe?
I suppose.
I guess.
So... Or am I trying to think? I really enjoyed both of these films.
Yeah. For quite different reasons, I feel, though.
Yeah, they were very different. My pick would be Renfield. You've gone the other way, probably. I've gone for Renfield because there was sort of it was more sort of grandiose, I think. The gore was there, the big villain was there, and it just felt like a whole show with Totally Killer. It was a lot more subtle, sort of working in the background.
Yeah.
Really interesting concept. But for like wanting to go watch it again, for me, Renfield would be up there.
I swung the other way.
Oh, okay.
I prefer Totally Killer, whereas I really enjoyed Renfield, don't get me wrong. It had really good marks, and there's only 2 points between them. You know, Renfield is almost the same marks as Pope's Exorcist for me.
Yeah.
But I feel that with Renfield, it's one of those ones you can watch it and then be like, oh, well, I'm not going to gain anything new from a second watch.
Okay.
So I kind of feel that it kind of, again, I would watch it again, absolutely would watch it again. But if I was to go back and try and gain something new from something, I would overanalyze then Totally Killer to try and see if I'm picking up new things. To be like, this is where this guy comes in as the killer, this is where that guy might come in. I'm kind of picking and choosing between them, you know. So I would go Totally Killer.
Right, how are we going to resolve this then?
Okay, so what score did you have for Renfield?
23.
Oof, and Totally Killer?
19.
Oh no. Okay, well it's yeah. So what we're going to do is add up the scores, and then the winner of the scores wins, so Renfield takes this one.
Not by much.
23, 25, 45 for Renfield, and math. Hang on. 43.
Okay.
It's 43 for
close.
Totally Killer. Yeah, so it is close. I would have rathered Totally Killer, but yeah.
Wow.
So be it. It is what it is. It's rating system.
This is a collaborative effort. You can't always have what you want.
Obviously, the next sort of thing would be if we get a tie. And then it's like, oh god, what do you do now? So, okay. Next.
Right, next we have Sound of Silence against No One Will Save You.
Oh, that's quite ironic. That wasn't planned.
Oh.
We were talking, just as a brief side note here, the sound of, in No One Will Save You, silence was used to a good effect.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's going up against Sound of Silence. I thought I didn't plan that.
Now, I can't remember off the top of my head what Sound of Silence was like. Let me just have a look.
It was the Haunted Radio one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. This is a really interesting matchup because Sound of Silence was for sure scarier, but then it did have what we talked about, the weird exposition dumpy flashback thing.
Let's de-scarify the villain, is what we're going to call it.
But it did have more of the horror elements that you'd expect. No One Will Save You was an all-round excellent film, and the only Alien one that we've got, so it's, again, having 2 very different things that we're trying to compare, I think. Yeah, I think remembering the exposition dump has just, like, brought me back down on Sound of Silence, so No One Will Save You definitely wins that one.
I know you're going to combat that because I've got No One Will Save You absolutely on that one. Yeah. Sound of Silence had so much potential.
Yeah.
I felt that it could have gone really far. But it just seemed to fail at sort of a lot of the points, especially as you after the expedition dump.
Yeah.
They kind of went, hey, here's this deadly thing. Here's this thing that's killing people. Let's humanize it and take away its power.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whereas an alien from outer space, you can't humanize it.
No. I think they almost did.
Almost. But I think that was more
detrimental way.
Yeah. It was more of an emotional, kind of sympathetic kind of way as opposed to humanizing it and making it
less.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
So next we've got Demeter.
The last voyage of the
Demeter versus Sick.
Yep.
I'm not sure my scores are what I think. Really, we were talking about this before we started recording that. My scores are sort of very much in isolation, so it's where it's comparing. It sort of isn't quite mathematical. So last voyage of the Demeter was a really good take on Dracula.
Yep.
Had some downsides in that it was really dark, maybe couldn't see, and also other things that we talked about, like the fact that the sort of end point was already stated at the start, so it takes away the stakes.
Yeah, that the previously on kind of.
Yeah. Sick was really actually quite an interesting film, taking on a very modern, a very current issue.
Yeah.
And putting a horror spin on it. It's tricky. I've given a higher score to Sick,
Ooh, okay.
But I probably could be persuaded the other way, I think.
My scores is literally 1 point between them.
Oh.
I did edge out Demeter for this.
Yeah.
Mainly because of some of the acting, especially from Liam Cunningham.
Yeah.
And the fact that it wasn't your regular Dracula. It was more of the Nosferatu kind of demon kind of thing. But then, even in the sort of, when we talked about it, the whole, oh look, I got bat wings, that kind of killed out a lot as well. So...
yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you can tell just from me talking about it that I'm conflicted about my own scores on this one. So I would probably put Voyage of Demeter forwards rather than Sick.
But seeing this, looking at this and sort of which one would I want to watch, if I had a choice to watch one film right now, I would probably go for Sick.
Yeah.
Is the thing of it. So whilst I have scored Demeter a little bit higher...
So we're both flipping.
I think that Sick might end up taking this one because it was relatable. It was more hard hitting in the sense of you could almost imagine yourself living in that.
And there was more sort of surprise in it. The element of surprise and not knowing quite what's going on. Yeah. Whereas in the Demeter,
hey, look, everyone's dead. This happened like a month earlier.
Yeah, you knew right from the start. Well, it's Dracula. Yeah. That's definitely who's doing it.
Yeah.
We did have moments where we were like, the box seemed to be openable from the outside, so maybe someone in the ship's in on it. They were not. So I mean, they are very close. So should we just go, if we went with the scores, adding them up, I think Sick would win
Sick's
out.
going to take it, yeah.
Because I've got 13 for Demeter and 19 for Sick.
Yeah, I had the same score for Sick and 20 for Demeter.
A very interesting matchup.
Yeah.
And brings to light how scores aren't always...
Yeah, it's two very different movies as well.
Yeah, very
So it is hard to play them off against each other. And again, this is one of the more random ones of the sort of... there's only some of them I've tweaked. I know I'm not going to tell you which ones.
We don't need to know.
But yeah, no, I felt that... I think Sick edged this one out because of the relatability of it.
Yeah. Well, and it was funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It was some moments where it was like... Mask on.
Right, I need the full title of this one. Godless, the Eastfield Exorcism, I found it, is against Talk to Me. Another interesting matchup, two very different things.
I get the feeling you were really taken by Godless.
I did find that really interesting. That for me, the scores are very close.
Oh, really? Mine aren't.
Very close. So Talk to Me is very supernatural, and there were some really interesting twists in there and use of the spirit world and sort of different aspects of it that you could see through the film, which is really
the hand itself. I mean, you think, just I didn't really think to twig onto this when we were talking about Talk to Me, I'll bring it up now just as a side note, is that usually when you meet people, what's the first thing you do?
You shake their hands.
Something
it's
common.
Such a natural motion.
Even though this was a left hand. Which a lot of people see as the devil's handshake. Or
it's the handshake you do in Guides, because you salute with your right and shake with your left.
I wouldn't know that one.
Girl Guides.
That's why I don't know this one. Oh, right.
So in Godless, it's sort of a bit more psychological in a sense.
Yeah.
Although it has the hint of supernatural, but you're never quite sure. So that really was interesting to me. And it always gets that extra push when it's based on real events. You don't know how much is based on real events.
Not as much as the film led us to believe.
No, but you always have that feeling of, well, there have been exorcisms done in real life that have resulted in people's deaths.
Yep.
And that's the real horror, right?
Well, that did actually happen, but there was more that they chained the person up or tied the person up in a barn somewhere and beat her and starved her for like 5 days or whatever it was.
So, Godless does win for me.
For me, it's the other way around. Just talk to me. And I think we mentioned this whilst we were talking about Godless on, I think it was video number 1 or part number 1. Is that I didn't see Godless as a horror film. I thought it was more of a thriller. It wasn't some like entity the state. Like you watch The Exorcist, it's absolutely a demon taking over Regan.
Yes.
You know, and it's there's no qualms about it. This was just a woman who was mentally ill over the loss of a child, and it was that's all it was. It was that mental illness, as it were, mental sickness. I don't quite know.
Yeah, that's.
But I personally felt that Talk to Me actually had a weight and a bearing on having a horror element to it. You didn't know what you were going to get when you touched the hand.
Yeah.
When you say talk to me and the spirit pops up, you don't know what you're getting.
No.
And I feel that's more of a credible threat than an exorcist coming in and trying to push his propaganda on someone. Again, I felt Godless was more of a thriller.
Fair enough.
Much like Sounds of the Lambs. I don't see Sounds of the Lambs as a horror film.
I could see my scores before, so I'd given Godless 21 and Talk to Me 20. So I think Talk to Me's winning.
Yeah,
Because
so
your scores you said weren't as close.
21 and 20.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that'd be 45, 18, 19... Oh, I can't math. Wait.
Can't math.
Hang on. I'm going to pull a calculator
39.
up. Is it 39? Let me just double check.
31 plus 18.
39, yeah. So Talk to Me would win if we're going by scores only.
Yeah, there we go.
Cool.
I do agree with your reasoning. It was more of a horror film as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy with that. All right, now for possibly the most interesting matchup and my one. Elevator Game versus The Haunting of the Queen Mary.
Okay.
Or just the Queen
Before we go any
Mary.
further, I have to ask, are your scores the same for these?
They are exactly the same. Are yours as well? They're exactly the same. Okay, next question then.
What did you give them?
12 each?
15.
Oh, there we go. I think you're more generous than me in general with these. I haven't done many 5s.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've seen a lot more horror films,
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of pick and choose more elements
Yeah.
and different things. So we probably
So-
look for very different things.
Very different films.
Yes, yeah, very, very different.
Although my scores are the same, my reactions to the films at the time were very different.
Yes.
So I think that's going to influence which one I'm going to push forwards.
Okay.
Elevator Game, I was like, oh, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
And then at the end, like, okay. Queen Mary, like the whole way through, I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
Why have they done that?
yeah.
So for me, Elevator Game would win. If I had to
Okay.
watch one of these films again, that's the one I would go
And I
for.
think that's kind of the benchmark when we're doing this kind of thing. If we do get a tie, is which one would you watch immediately right now if you
Yeah.
absolutely have to pick one?
What about you?
Queen Mary, as you said, it was more like what is that? That's a weird choice. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? I don't quite understand that. Why was what?
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of that. Whereas Elevator Game actually had an interesting premise to it.
It did. Yeah.
The whole Eliza Lamb thing, which we talked about in the last episode,
Even
and the
though
whole
they didn't
Elevator Game.
reference it,
Yeah.
it brings it into reality.
They might not
but
be able to. Maybe there's copyright. I don't
Maybe,
know.
yeah. Legal stuff.
Yeah. But as I said, it was an interesting idea. It just wasn't executed very well.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, like I did say in part 4, because that's when we talked about Elevator Game, is that the first 2/3 were a bit like, with some like, moments in it. It wasn't like, this is ramming up. But then the final third was like, okay, now we're getting interesting. And then it tripped off right at the end.
Yeah.
With Queen Mary, it was more like,
Yeah, sailing along the bottom.
so I would also pick Elevator Game if I
There
had to
we
pick one
go.
because of that interesting premise.
Mm-hmm.
And because obviously, like, I'm a big fan of the musical artist Skinned and the horror aspect, and they've done a song called Eliza Lamb. Like, isn't that your favourite Skinned song, I think?
It's up there.
It's one of your favourite
Yeah.
songs, and the whole 4, 2, 10, 2, 6, 5, 1. Or
Gets
6.
burned in your brain.
It does. It really does. It really does. Yeah. So I
Okay.
would go Elevator Game as well.
Okay then.
Thanks, Rex. That's divine, kiddo.
Lovely. Next, we've got Evil Dead Rise against Cobweb.
Yeah. Okay.
Another interesting one.
I mean, we potentially got demons or deadites
Yeah.
versus a perceived entity, which
Misunderstood
isn't.
woman with weird face.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Melina from Mortal Kombat.
Yes. So
That's what it reminded me of.
Cobweb was a very interesting story.
Yeah.
Kept you guessing. Was a lot of psychological stuff and kids involved. Bullying in there, that elevates a bit of the relatability.
Yeah.
Evil Dead Rise, you got a classic story but done in a new way.
Yeah.
Also kids involved. No
Is it a
bullying,
classic story
but
continuation? I guess it's like a requel
recall, yeah.
of sorts.
It's related to Evil Dead, but tangentially,
It's the same
it's a different book,
antagonist.
but it is the same type of creature.
Yeah.
For me, Evil
from
Dead
Lindsay.
Rise wins.
Like I'm not gonna make any qualms with this. I'm a big Evil Dead fan.
Yes.
I love all the films. We've seen Ash vs Evil Dead. I think they're brilliant. Cobweb. The trailer is, I want to say the trailer's misleading.
Sometimes a good thing.
And a lot of the, and then I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but the trailer's misleading, so I was going to expecting a haunting or a demonic kind of thing, or a creature in the wall. I don't know whether or not it being a sister is actually more terrifying than having something different.
Yeah.
So I'm still kind of like out on this, but I think that if I had to watch one of these again, I would rather do something that doesn't have spiders in it.
Yes, that is a big factor.
And given that I'm a fan of the franchise, Evil Dead, I've rated Evil Dead as higher. So for me, Evil Dead wins this one.
Yeah.
But it's I did really enjoy Cobweb as well, though. I just wanted to put that out there. It was a good film.
I do think watching Cobweb again, you could pick up some new things and interesting aspects that you didn't catch the first time round, like hints. But Evil Dead does win on that one.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Okay then.
And the last of our first round.
The Nun 2 versus Bogeyman.
So the Conjuring universe versus Stephen King.
Yes.
Basically.
Fine. All right. Nun 2, because we've talked about this most recently, because it was in our fourth part.
Yeah.
We did talk about how this was a bit disappointing in terms of from what we would expect from this franchise. It didn't quite hit as much as we'd expected. Bogeyman, I think, was...
Bogeyman?
Boogeyman? I don't know.
Bogies?
It depends what your accent is.
This wasn't Dick and Dom, wasn't it?
It's spelt the same.
Bogies? Is it? I thought there was one O in Bogies.
There's one O in Boogeyman.
No, there's not.
Oh. Well, I've only written one.
It's two O's.
Oh, doesn't matter.
Boogeyman. Because it's Boo. Boogeyman. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I found it, like, it was quite an original take. It's sort of... It's the monster in the closet, but more explained, more to it, and you did sort of see it in some aspect.
Even if it was ridiculously dark.
Thing with the extra face in it. And it was very much had that psychological element to it as well, which pushes it higher for me than...
Yeah. And I think everyone relates as a child to being afraid of the dark at some point, or even as an adult.
Yes.
Because it's not the dark you should be afraid of, it's what's in the dark that you should be afraid of. And that kind of leads nicely into this one.
Exactly. So that one is one for me.
Yeah, I've got the Boogeyman by 1 point.
Oh.
I wasn't overly enamoured with Boogeyman, but I felt it did a lot more right than the Nun 2 did.
Yeah.
Like the whole, I'm becoming a godlike creature. Oh no, wine, my mortal enemy.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of really killed that off for me. And it's a pain because I love the Conjuring movies. They're some of my favourite horror movies of all time. They're such great movies. But and Annabelle was a fantastic spin-off. When they did The Nun, I was like, oh, okay, great. And then Nun 2, and I was like, oh, you see the trailer, I was like, oh, this could be good. And all the best bits are already in the trailer, and it's like, Jesus, why?
Yeah.
Why? So yeah, I would pick Boogeyman as well, which is surprising because Stephen King usually has really bad endings in films and movies and
but it was
books.
actually alright.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you doing? Right.
So we're moving on to round 2.
Before we go to round 2, I've got some interesting stats.
Ooh, stats.
So, I've gotten the ratings of all the films.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got 0-12 rating.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We have 11 15 rated movies.
Yeah.
And 5 18 rated movies.
Okay.
So the 18 rated movies are Scream 6.
Yeah.
Understandably. We've got Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Okay.
That was a surprise.
Yeah.
But I guess the creature and some of the blood work and obviously harming animals, that kind of leads into that. Yeah.
That's fair.
That's fair enough. Elevator Game is 18.
Really?
I don't quite understand that one.
Okay.
There's one more to come that you wouldn't see. The Haunting of the Queen Mary's 18. My take would be the guy's deformed face and the axe murders.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you didn't really see much of the axe murders, so I'm not quite sure why that one was 18. And unfortunately, I think I did misspeak during one of the videos, or I checked it on my phone. It said 15 for Evil Dead Rise. Evil Dead Rise is actually an 18 rated movie.
That makes more sense.
Which makes more sense.
Great.
Cool.
Interesting.
Just in the quick other side note, one thing I didn't do whilst going through the films and the previous 4 parts was tell the runtimes of the films. I'm not going to go through all 16 again now, but I will tell you that the shortest of the movies was Sick at 1 minute and 22 seconds.
Wait.
At 1 hour, 22 seconds.
Yeah.
I got a cat attacking me, so including credits. The longest, any guesses?
Queen Mary.
Scream 6.
Okay.
2 hours and 2 minutes long.
Queen Mary just felt long.
Yeah, it did. That felt like a slog.
Well, okay. Very interesting.
I think Queen Mary was like an hour 48, something like that.
Okay.
Cool. Round 2.
2.
Well, semi-finals.
Semi-finals. Ooh, right.
Oh, no, wait,
Knock
wait.
over my
Nope.
drink.
Quarterfinals.
Quarterfinals.
Yeah,
Because
sorry.
there's 4 matchups.
Yeah, sorry, Quaz.
Okay, we start with the Pope's Exorcist
Yeah.
against the Cat's Butt, because I
Renfield.
can't see Renfield.
Okay.
You might need to go first.
Hey.
Or do we just, because we talked about each
We've talked
one.
about them before, so which one would you pick for this?
Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want Renfield. I would have rather totally kill her. So,
Yeah.
and that's not like, oh, what Renfield got through sucks. I generally would prefer to watch The Puppet Exorcist again over Renfield. Whereas Renfield, like I said, no, really good film, but maybe a bit too much too soon. Does that make sense? Like, you can watch a film like Shaun of the Dead. I can watch Shaun of the Dead on repeat all day long.
Yeah.
No problem whatsoever. Other films, you can watch them and be like, ha, that was great. Second time, you're like, I want something else now.
Yeah, I get you.
You know, I kind of feel that Renfield's one of those films.
Yeah.
You kind of
You wouldn't
leave
get
it for
anything new
like,
from it.
yeah, you leave it for 6 months and go, you know, I want to watch Renfield again. And then you'd watch it, and then you'd be content for another like 6 months.
Yeah.
I feel it's one of those kind of films.
Fair.
Pope's Exorcist, you could probably, again, going into it, you could probably pick out some little details in the background. Oh, didn't notice that before, didn't notice that before. Now there was Spanish Inquisition, that makes sense. This makes sense. You're picking up a lot more from it. That's kind of where I felt from that.
Out of interest, what would have won out of Pope's Exorcist and Totally Killer?
It still would have been Pope's Exorcist.
Fair enough, there we go.
But I think Totally Killer would have had a better fight against it.
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
I probably would have watched that straight off a lot sooner than
Renfield.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, next matchup. No One Will Save You versus Sick.
Okay.
I've gone for No One Will Save You.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubts about that.
No.
No One Will Save You just blew me away on so many levels.
Yeah, it was excellent.
And as much as the relatability of Sick is, I've always had an interest in aliens. I've seen different things, sort of lights and shapes and things. And people are like, oh, everyone's seen lights in the sky, but I'm not going to go into now. But and it's kind of like what if aliens did come to this world? What if they did decide to come and take over us?
Yeah.
If they can travel through space on machines that we can't do as humans, we have no chance if they just want to come and wipe us out. You know, look at War of the Worlds. You know, same sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
If they just decided to come in and wipe out humanity, there's probably nothing we could do about it.
Nope.
And that is a
Sit back and
terrifying
enjoy
thought.
the ride.
Yeah, it's a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
You know? So I just feel that's got a more credible threat.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. All right.
Cool.
Oh, this next one might be a bit tricky.
Oof. Are you sure?
Talk to Me against Elevator Game. Oh, this is obviously Talk to Me.
Do you think? Do you think? Now let's put a case in for Elevator Game. Okay. 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, 5, 1.
Yeah, okay. They did the numbers right.
Yeah.
Apart from that one time where they were going to floor 2, but it was
I think
floor
it was either
3
4
that was
or
lit
6.
up.
Was it 3 or was it?
It was, there was the third one.
Oh, it was
up
on the
from
opposite
bottom.
side. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Glaring, obviously, error. Can't be Elevator
There we
Game
go.
then. Yeah.
Talk to
can't
me
be
it
that,
is.
yeah. So talk to me. Yeah.
And the last matchup in this round, Evil Dead Rise versus Boogeyman. I have gone for Evil Dead Rise.
I was going to say, if you haven't gone for Evil Dead Rise, there's something wrong. Because, and again, like we said just now with the Boogeyman, it wasn't a bad film at all.
No.
It was good. The ending was good even for Stephen King's story. Because he's notoriously bad with endings. They even referenced it in It Part 2.
Yeah.
In the Chapter 2, rather, the remakes that they did. It's just endings just seem to always fall flat. Evil Dead, the ending was the beginning.
Yes.
And it kind of cycles it round. And even sort of the end of that, where they sort of got the girl sort of levitating up outside of the lake. That was technically the end of the film.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? You know?
Yeah.
It's an interesting way that they did it. I
Still
really
out
enjoyed
there.
that. You don't really kill the Deadites, do you?
No, they're already dead.
Yeah, so I absolutely 100% would go for Evil Dead Rise.
Nice. Okay. Whew, semi-finals.
Yep.
Okay, this one is going to be difficult. So, The Pope's Exorcist against No One Will Save You. My scores are even. So I'm going to let you go first.
Are we talking scores or are we talking it out? My scores are not even.
Okay, you talk it out. You have to convince me.
My scores, the higher is No One Will Save You.
Okay, yeah.
What's the one thing that No One Will Save You brings to this entire tournament that we've made together here?
Aliens.
Aliens. How many demons have we seen throughout a lot of these films?
A lot.
It's a very common thread. It's an
Yeah.
easy thread to go, let's pick a demon. Job done, there we go. The Boogeyman could be seen as a demon.
Yeah.
The Nun is a demon.
Yeah.
Who's defeated by wine.
Yes. The elevator woman is a demon.
Elevator woman's a demon. But going back to the Nun, and that's kind of why I went to the Nun, the demon was defeated by wine. What if Father Moth just had a bottle of wine and chucked it in the demon's face and it fizzled it away?
Well, it has to be preyed on first to make it blood.
But what I'm getting at
Yes.
is, right, so the demon in Pope's Exorcist was a powerful entity. I can't remember the name of the entity there. But you're dumping it in with the same kind of ring or collective, shall we say, as Varrock
Yes.
gets defeated by one. Not once, but twice.
So basically, seeing the Nun 2 ruined the Pope's Exorcist for you.
In a sense, yeah, because it's still drawing from that same pool. It's a demon. Oh look,
Demons are defeatable.
let's make a horror film. What we're gonna do? Demons. Someone went, we're gonna do a horror film. What we're gonna do? Aliens.
Hasn't been done for a bit.
Hasn't been done for a long time that I know of, or at least into a good
Not
effect.
well, yeah.
There is one film I remember seeing which was to do with aliens, and it was in 2012, I believe that came out.
Okay.
That was really good and it freaked a lot of people out. You haven't seen that one, but I really enjoyed that film.
Okay.
That was the first movie I saw when I started working at View, funny enough, with my cops.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I would go No One Would Save You.
Yeah.
The visuals were better. I felt the story was better.
Yeah.
Whilst the acting in Pope's Exorcist is great, Russell Crowe, you're kind of going in to expect that from Russell
Yes.
Crowe, and he did nail it. Some of the other cast kind of slipped the score down a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas the woman who plays Bryn in No One Could Save You, oh my god, that was so good.
She just held it all.
She held it
Yeah.
all on her back.
You know what? I would agree.
I would go No One Could Save
And
You.
obviously, scores wise, it would have won because mine were even
Yeah.
and yours weren't.
Yeah.
So No One Will Save You goes
Cool.
into the finals.
Yeah, awesome.
Along with the winner of
Yeah,
Talk to Me
yeah.
and Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, that's a tough one. You go first on this one.
I put Evil Dead Rise to win.
Yeah.
Talk to Me, while it was great, there were some bits that weren't as good. I guess you didn't see as much of the spirits that I'd have liked perhaps, but in Evil Dead Rise it's like there fully forever, and it's like relentless.
Yeah.
Which I think builds up. It's a different kind of horror. It's so hard to compare sometimes, but in terms of like how scary it would have been, and watching again as well, I think Evil Dead Rise is up.
Yeah. I think they tried to, well, they didn't try to, they actually did. They made Talk to Me a bit too much of a human story, maybe.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have found out what the actual spirits were trying to accomplish. The one that was inhabiting Riley, and the one that was portraying the mother. If it wasn't the mother, then what was it?
Yeah.
You didn't really get a resolution with that.
Yeah. All we sort of got was they want you.
In Evil Dead Rise, and it's kind of the similar sort of thing, I guess, with Nope last year. The alien in that, that was the last alien film, was Nope. The alien in that was just hungry.
Yes.
Whereas the alien in Evil Dead Rise isn't just some sort of hungry thing. It's just out to cause chaos and anarchy and feed off people's fear and just kill people.
Yeah.
And there's no inhibitions. There's no off switch for that. It's just that's what it is. That's what it does.
Yes.
So I would go the same with that. I would say Evil Dead Rise takes it because it's not a human story.
No.
It's something supernatural. It's something that you don't know how to prepare for.
No.
Something you can try to fight against, but you're going to have a very hard time doing it.
Yeah.
Talk to Me, you just release the hand for the most part and close the damn door.
Yes. Blow out the
As
candle.
in blowing out the
come on.
candles, yeah. So I would absolutely go for Evil Dead.
Okay.
Even though my scores were tied.
Yeah. Wow. Here we go. Into the finals.
Here we go. Finals.
So, No One Will Save You versus Evil Dead Rise.
So we've got, No One Will Save You is a 15, Evil Dead Rise is an 18. One is an alien film and one is a Deadites film.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really ever mentioned in any of the films, if I can remember what the Deadites really are.
No.
Um,
I'd say they fall into the demon category.
Maybe. Yeah.
They sort of have the same sort of characteristics. But yeah, my winner would be No One Will Save You.
In terms of scores, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
What was your reasoning before that? Why does No One Will Save You win over Evil Dead Rise?
The sound work, the visuals, the acting, the originality.
So you didn't like the cheese grater?
I mean, it grates on you.
Okay.
And there were original things in Evil Dead Rise. You're right. I haven't seen cheese grater leg before.
Cheese grater leg.
Cheese grater leg. But No One Will Save You. It was something unexpected and executed excellently.
Yeah.
Just not. There was nothing predictable about that film.
No.
Whereas Evil Dead Rise, we know the Deadites. We know what they're after. So that was like, well, someone's gonna die now.
Yeah.
Then someone else is gonna die. So it's more, you know what's coming. And I would love to watch No One Will Save You again to try and just sort of see more.
Pick out if there's anything you want to miss, maybe.
Yeah. So it's definitely wins out.
For Evil Dead Rise, and we talked about this one, I think it was episode 3, maybe. I can't remember exactly what one. It was episode 2. That kid looking through the door. peephole,
Yeah.
eyeball, whatever you want to call it. And he goes to knock the door and he's like, and then swallowing the eyeball. That really dragged the acting down for me in that one.
Yeah.
And in terms of the villain, the aliens was something new with the finger feet. I don't know what else to call them, the finger feet, right?
Yeah.
That reminds me of a yogurt I used to eat as a kid called Fiendish Feet. It was little cups of yogurt that had little molded feet on the bottom of them with like painted Dracula face on it. They were really nice. They were really cool.
Okay.
I have to pick a picture. If I can find a picture, I'll throw it up here as well to show you guys
Never
all
heard
down
of
here
them.
somewhere. It did before your time. It was 80s. So I was born in the 80s. So, best decade. But I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So the one thing that really I didn't like with Evil Dead was Lindsay.
Lindsay, yeah. Yeah.
I just didn't like that. I said it during when we were talking about the film itself.
Yes.
It would have been better if they hadn't resurrected the son yet, who'd obviously been killed.
Mm-hmm.
Had the mother just leave the mother's body and go into the son's body instead. So you've got a new vessel, a fresh vessel, instead of going, oh, let's just stick this arm on you, let's stick this leg
Mr.
on.
Potato.
And it's like, oh, what is that? I really didn't like that bit.
Yeah.
So, Evil Dead Rise is the runner-up.
Yeah.
I fully agree. No One Will Save You was, for me, and this is going to lead into the finals. So I've got a little bit of thing that Leanne doesn't know about yet, so this is going to get fun. Okay. So for me, No One Will Save You was the sleeper hit.
Yes.
Okay.
Did not expect it to.
I didn't even see a trailer for this film. I saw the poster. I saw the woman getting carried up onto an alien ship, and I thought, yeah, we need an alien film. That's why I put it in.
Wow.
That's the only reason I put it in this tournament.
And
For
that
something
visual
different.
is such a small part of what the film was
Yeah,
in the end.
yeah, for something different is what I wanted. And look what happened.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
let's hand out some awards, shall we? Sleeper hit, okay?
Sleeper
My one's
hit.
No One Will Save You.
Yeah.
Do you have another choice, or is yours that one as well?
Oh, it's definitely that one.
Okay.
Okay.
So, next award we're going to hand out is Tortoise and the Hare. What did you feel started really slow and did end up picking up no matter how bad it was? So it could be Queen Mary, it could be Elevate, it could be anything. So something that started off really slow, plodding pace, boom, clicked in and was like, oh, okay, it just won the race.
Probably Demeter, maybe.
Voyager the Demeter?
Yeah, because it did, like you say, start really slow. The crates were loaded up, nothing happened, and then you had like a showdown at the end with it, having a big fight.
Yeah, I felt Elevate again.
Yeah.
The way they're sort of going in the building and they're going up on the floors and it's like, oh my god, this is taking forever. And then, as I mentioned in the last video, the last third just seemed to ramp up so well when you hit that sort of the red world. You see the cross thing in the sky and the spirit. I thought that was really well done, the way they just sort of plodding, boom, let's go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was done on purpose or if it was just an accidental byproduct. I don't know. But that takes the Tortoise and the Hare thing.
Nice.
Visual Feast Award. Which do you think was the best looking? No imperfections. You could look at this and actually believe it was 100% real.
Gonna have to leave me time to think, which is tricky.
Yeah. I don't want to give mine because I don't want to influence your decision. I love springing stuff like this on the end. It's fun.
I could probably go with No One Will Save You.
No One Will Save You.
Yeah.
I couldn't fault anything in that film. Everything was meticulous.
Yeah, it was
Even
great.
sort of the beginning of the film when she's picking up the dress and it's like, oh, I don't know why she's picking up this dress. Is it a job interview? Is she going to meet someone? Is it a date? Is it the parents? And she's just like, and both dresses were very starkly different from each other. There wasn't just two dresses that looked the same, but it's that small amount of detail which makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I felt. And obviously the aliens, like I talked about when they're talking and the voice box or their throat is, you can literally see it vibrating, going up and down. And it's like, oh, it's incredible.
It was very good. Okay.
What about the Ow My Eyes award? What looked awful?
What looked awful?
Which one did you think looked the least decent?
Elevator game for the face.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I've gone for Queen Mary for the face.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's face did not look realistic in the slightest.
Fair enough. But then it had the hand coming out in the phone.
True.
Yeah, fair
True.
enough.
Yeah.
Both equal contenders, I think.
Yeah. But then you had the hand coming out of the neck in
Yeah,
Elevator Game.
very
so,
true.
Yeah.
Ups and downs. Yeah.
Okay. And last award we're going to give out is the Will You Lighten Up? Which film was so dark that it pulled a Game of Thrones on us and needs to lighten the hell up.
Voyage of the Demeter.
Last Voyage of the Demeter. It was too dark in places. You couldn't really see what was going on. An elevator game was very close to that, but that was done for effect.
Yeah, it wasn't detrimental.
No, no. So yeah, that's our awards. That's our horror clash for 2023. No One Will Save You is our winner. We've got obviously a couple of awards that we've handed out. They're non-awards, unfortunately. We're not going to be shipping trophies to anyone, but
can't afford that.
Yeah, maybe if like we get some sponsors or something, that'd be nice. You know, that'd be cool. But yeah, any final thoughts about this particular season of horror?
I very much enjoyed it. There was nothing that like freaked me out so much. So whether that's the standard wasn't as good as spooky as last year, or that I'm growing as a person. We'll say it's a bit of
I think in terms of that, I think Cobweb was probably the one that sticks with you the most because of the dream sequence.
Yeah.
That's probably the one that would stick with us the most, or stick with me the most.
But
it's nowhere near the level of The Grudge.
No.
Or something like Hellraiser from last year. That really sticks with you, some of the brutality in that.
Exactly.
Which is obviously the 2022 winner, Hellraiser remake that they did.
So yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed it. There's been jump scares, there's been laughs. No tears, but it's fine. Really enjoyed it.
We're going to carry on watching films. I think So X will be available on streaming soon. Insidious, The Red Door. You haven't seen the other previous movies, so we're going to be watching those leading up to Halloween. Yeah. We've got the last part of the In Search of Darkness 80s trilogy, which we're going to be watching next week, which is going to be interesting. All this sort of direct-to-video. And if you haven't seen those, In Search of Darkness, they're doing a 90s horror doc now. So you can, it's not Kickstarter, it's you sort of pre-purchase and then it ships to you next year. I'll try and find the link, I'll pop it down here, I'll pop it in the description down below as well. You can get the 80s trilogy there as well. There's fantastic documentaries for anyone who loves horror movies. Take us home.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this series. We will be back next year, so let's hope we get some good horror films in 2024. Let us know in the comments what your winner out of these would have been. If you agree with us, let us know. We like it when people agree with us, but also we like hearing different opinions.
Yeah, we like to talk to people about why they don't agree and why they think something was better for different reasons. You know, we're not egotists.
So talk to me. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell.
You could have at least held your hand out
to be notified when we drop new videos. Follow us on socials. We're on Instagram, Facebook and X. I have to pause now whenever I do the socials bit because it's still Twitter in my head.
I still call it Twitter, it's fine. I don't think anyone really refers to it as X apart from Elon Musk.
I've seen it referenced, it's all good. But our link tree's in the description below, so that'll take you directly to it. That's all the things. So we'll be back soon with other content. It might be video game stuff, board game stuff, unboxings. We'll see. Depends on when stuff's delivered. So stick around and we'll see you there. And enjoy Halloween.
Don't go getting abducted by aliens.
Yeah, that one. Bye.